welcome to Tell Your Story, a writing workshop. I'm Mattie, I'm an editor of children's fiction at Stripe Publishing, and today we're going to talk to you about writing your story. Everyone has a story in them, and everyone's story deserves to be heard, but sometimes when you have all these ideas in your head, it's hard to know how to get them onto the page. So we've put together this workshop with a worksheet which you might find useful to write down your ideas and help organise them into a story.
Hi, I'm Ella and I'm junior editor at Stripes Publishing, and I work with Mattie and our authors to come up with ideas for their books, stories that we think readers will love. It's the best job in the world. Maybe you'd like to be a writer or editor, or maybe you just like telling stories and getting creative, then this is the workshop for you.
So to start with, you might need some inspiration. Sometimes it's quite hard to think of a story, but there's lots of different ways you can come up with an idea. It could be something that's happened to you, a story you've read in the news, something someone's told you, or you can think about some of your favourite books that you've read and what you like about them. When you're thinking about your favourite book, try and work out what it is that makes it so special to you. Is it the character or characters? Can you relate to them? Do they have shared experiences to you? Is it the setting? Is it somewhere familiar that evokes memories? Or is it somewhere totally new that you can explore? Also think about how the book makes you feel. Does it make you laugh? Does it make you feel sad? Does it make you think? These are all things you can think about when writing your story and the effect that you might want to have on the reader. You don't just have to use existing books for your inspiration though. You can use other things, other interests you might have. For example, the author of Level Up loves video games, and so he wrote a whole series about two children who disappear into video game worlds. And the author of Little Animal Rescue cares a lot about the environment and all different types of animals, and so her series focuses on rescuing animals and looking at their habitats. You can draw on influences from literally anywhere.
A really important part of your story is where it's set. It will help your reader to get to know the world your characters live in, so they can understand why they do the things they do. Think about a story that's set in a school. You'd have to mention classes, the playground, the head teacher's office, maybe even the toilets. Or, if your story's set in a dark, tangly forest, what animals might be lurking around? Is it daytime or nighttime? Is there a path for your main character to follow to get out of the woods safely? Or is there a fork in the road and they have a decision to make? This is also known as world building, which is exactly what it sounds like. You're creating a world for your characters. Tell the reader exactly what that world looks like. Maybe it's the same world that you live in. Are there any differences? Or maybe it's a completely different planet. What does that look like? Whatever setting you choose, make sure it's clearly set up for the reader. You could even draw a map to help them.
So once you have the inspiration for your story in the setting, it's time to think about the characters. You'll need your protagonist, your main character. Now, they can be totally made up, or, as we've done before in the other sections, you can draw on different people you know, famous people, other characters you've read. But it's important that your character is well developed and rounded, so it's good to take a bit of time to get to know them. I would suggest here that you can write down all different aspects of their personality. Are they strong? Are they brave? Are they shy? Are they kind? Are they maybe not so kind? Are they maybe a bit selfish? Or are they thoughtful? They can be all different things, and your protagonist doesn't have to be perfect. The whole point of the book is that we get to know them and that they feel real to the reader, so they want to follow their journey. And you have a whole book for them to grow and learn. Also, at this stage, it's good to think what their goal is, what's driving them, what do they want from the story, which then leads into our antagonist. This is the person who's doing whatever they can to stop our protagonist from achieving their goal. So, technically, the baddie. But also, like the protagonist, they don't have to be one thing, and they should be rounded and also well developed. So again, take some time to think about them, about their motivations, maybe about their backstory. Why are they trying to stop the protagonist from achieving what they want? This is an exciting part, I think, of the development when you get to really know your characters and introduce them to the readers. As well as having our two main characters, our protagonist and antagonist, you can have as many characters as you want. And again, it's good at this point to get to know them and to think a little bit about the role they're going to play in the book. So you could think about the relationship that they have with our antagonist and protagonist How much influence do they have over these characters, and how key are they going to be to the main plot?
Plot is something that you're probably already familiar with. It's the sequence of events that make up a story. The first plot point should be hook. What is your main character trying to achieve? The second plot point is conflict. Something has to happen to stop your main character from achieving their goal. The third point is called the midpoint. What is your main character going to do to overcome the problem in their way? They need to come up with a plan. And the final part of a plot is called the resolution. Does your character manage to defeat the problem and get what they want? How does the story end for them? If you're struggling with plotting, think about your favourite book and break down the plot into the 4 points we've just talked about: hook, conflict, midpoint, and resolution. For example, in Roald Dahl's Matilda, the hook is Matilda discovering that she can move things with her mind, and her goal is that she wants to get rid of Miss Trunchbull. The conflict is that Miss Trunchbull is so mean that she bullies Matilda and even her own niece, Miss Honey. The midpoint is Matilda realising she can use her powers to get rid of Miss Trunchbull. The resolution is that the school gets a new, kinder head teacher and Matilda and Miss Honey live happily ever after. What will your plot be?
One of the trickiest parts about writing a story is getting the structure right. Once you've got your characters, your setting, and you've got your overall plot, you need to work out how you're going to frame the story, how you're going to structure it. So, one easy way to do this is to think of it in 3 sections. We have our beginning, where we introduce the characters, the setting, and the general themes of the story. In this section, it's a good idea to have a think about the really important information you need to get in here to draw your reader in and to set them up for the main action. In the middle section, you want to have the conflict, the action scenes. You want to have all the bits that you've built up in the beginning coming into play here. And then the end, the resolution. We want to see the outcome of the conflict. We want to see what happens to our characters. Do they get what they want? Do they not get what they want? What do they learn? How do they end up? Something that might be useful to do before you start writing in terms of the structure, and something that we do with authors, is to do a chapter breakdown. This is where you just go chapter by chapter with a few points, maybe a small paragraph for each chapter, outlining what happens in this chapter, what characters are involved, what information we learn, what action we see. This way you can make sure that it's nicely paced, that you don't have big blocks of just information or big blocks of action and then nothing. Also, it means that we can make sure we don't have too many repeated scenes, and that for the reader, each chapter gives them something new and keeps drawing them through the story. But equally, there's many different ways to write, and there's no right or wrong way. So just do what comes naturally to you and enjoy it.
At the back of the worksheet, there's a list of writing prompts to help you get started if you're struggling to come up with an idea off the top of your head. You might decide to write a story based totally on the prompt, or it might spark another idea for you to write about. For example, the story Write About Twins Who Have Discovered They Have Magical Powers. You might do exactly that. In which case, what powers do the twins have? Flying? The ability to see through walls? The power to move things with their mind? Or the prompt might make you think about something else. Superheroes, sibling relationships, witch and wizard school. Your story doesn't have to be any particular length, but if you're just starting out, try aiming for about 200 words, and then more, and soon you'll have a whole book. We can't wait to one day see your book on bookshelves.